everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Enough Gaming Podcast. This week's episode is entitled Back in Black. No, we're not rating AC/DC albums. We're actually looking at two different franchises, but one color. Black.
Black.
Are we also announcing our debut emo album?
Life is pain.
And if tonight was the night,
Where are you?
And I'm so sorry. Oh my god. But anyways, it's the year of the dark horse, or the black stallion, if you will, in the movie's renditions of the comic book worlds. We got both the next chapter of MCU's Black Panther, and now resetting again the DCEU's Black Adam, given to us this year. Did one of them rock? Were they fated to fail? What Wakanda podcast do you think this is?
Little bit of a stretch, but I like
Love
it
it.
though.
Oh,
God.
I like it.
That might be the world first Wakanda pun.
Oh,
You heard it here first.
if we didn't let you know exactly how we felt about these two films, Wakanda now that I got interrupted by that amazing pun, I'm going to read it again. Wakanda podcast, do you think this is, if we didn't let you know exactly how we felt about these two movies? Join us as we dig up more than ancient magic and vibranium this week in heated discussions about the two latest superhero flicks to release. SHAZAM!
yes.
Now, I want to start with Black Adam.
No.
Of course you do. It's
Okay,
not like you at all.
To be fair, it was released first. So let's start with the one that was released
Yeah.
first.
I feel like this is more of a good
I'm-
news, bad news, and Kyle's like, give me the bad news first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rip the Band-Aid off.
yeah. I'm repping The Rock with his Under Armour shirt.
Bravo Bull.
But this movie was so fucking cheese, man. I honestly, oh my god, I honestly wonder how much they had to pay Pierce Brosnan, like how hard up he is for money, to have to be in that movie and fucking football carry the helmet for half of it.
Although, to be fair, Dr. Fate was probably the best character in the
He was.
movie.
I
thought he was
agree,
great.
but
Yeah.
well, that was a redeeming quality, but I still feel like they didn't use him nearly enough.
No,
was just
and
like,
I think his spoilers, by the way, I think his death is a bit quick. I would have loved to have seen him kind of continue on, but like to your football helmet comment, like I think part of it is, and I think Daryl can back me up a little bit on this, when he puts the helmet on, the helmet essentially possesses the host.
Yes.
And so like for him, he can't be himself unless he has the helmet off.
And takes up all his FaceTime on screen.
Well, you're paying for Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you want to see the worst 007 that we've had, but
Yeah.
Well, Goldeneye, Jordan, Goldeneye, really?
yeah, Goldeneye was good. All right. I back.
They're hitting demographics. You've got The Rock, you've got Pierce Brosnan. We're trying to get all of the female demographics into this movie so that when their married boyfriends drag them to it, that they have something to watch.
Some eye candy from some age, some level, some preference.
Sure.
Whatever you're into.
Yeah.
We've got
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of notes. Like I made notes during the movie because I'm committed to this podcast.
Just a preface for everyone, we have our group chat regularly. I had to tell Kyle to shut the fuck up because he kept riffing on this thing as he's getting basically a play-by-play of the movie when he's watching it, and I was like, just save it. Save it, man.
It's like sit and watch the movie first and then comment after.
I've never read so many texts that I was like, I can feel the eye rolling. And they're like,
ADHD. Okay, so I have some notes.
Oh man!
First of all, like being introduced to some of these like new characters, like sort of like side characters with their like Wish Avengers. First, we have the most useless ass hero ever in Cyclone. Next, we have Wish Ant-Man, known as Atom Smasher. And then Black Adam, the Yeet Machine.
Do you mean the Kool-Aid Man?
Oh yeah! Just walks through every fucking wall at the beginning.
That's one of my notes. Is Black Adam allergic to doors?
Because they didn't have doors. He's from the past. They didn't have doors.
Yeah, there's no doors. Yeah.
It also got me at one point when he was just getting dragged underneath that hover cycle and just looked so disinterested in what was going on. Mm-hmm. Just like face dragged along the ground, and you just, this is fine.
So, can we get it out of the way that I think we can all agree, and I don't know, I haven't talked to Daryl as much about it, so maybe he'll disagree, but can we just agree that The Rock is just bad casting for this role?
He's not a great actor.
Perfect actor. Yeah.
And that's what I agree. I think in terms of physique, in terms of like what you look at a comic book and you think what's the closest thing to real life that this could look like, I don't think it gets any closer than The Rock's like body for like a hero of this caliber. Like it's, I don't think it's. I don't think there's anyone else that's.
Yeah, everyone was staring at The Rock bottom.
or doing like a puffed out suit, like without some help.
He worked his ass off to be ready for that role. Like he trained a little
when
differently.
Does he not though?
Yeah, but like he was like, I want to make sure that I'm my biggest, like most shredded, like. And he cycles. Yeah, for sure. He's but
I don't care. That's his choice.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
It was just like, in terms of look, the costume and everything, I thought it looked great. Yeah. I thought it looked really great.
Yeah.
I thought the Black Adam costume was phenomenal.
Yeah. Hawkman was a little much for me.
Hawkman was legit. Like,
I liked Hawkman, and I like the casting choice for him too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, but he was trying to do too much. He kept getting dog walked by Black Adam every time he went at him, and just kept coming back for more. Like,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's two alphas going after each other, right? Like,
exactly.
Clearly not, based on.
Wait, did you want him to be the Hulk and Thanos situation and just be a bitch and turtle for the rest of the franchise end there, like for that first wave? What do you want, Kyle?
That's fair. Yeah. Okay, I gotta say though, like, I swear to God, half this movie was Black Adam staring at a statue of himself.
It's not of himself. It's of his son.
It's son. It's his son.
Not him. It's his son.
Come on, man.
But still,
I told you to put that phone down while you were watching.
I do have to say this. I mean, I have to say this for both movies, though. Some of the CGI, you could feel the budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
I do agree
not saying Captain America was great, but like the skinnying version of Captain America versus like skinny ancient slave Rock.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's like this is not great. Good.
No.
And I mean, let's be real. Even Slave Rock still looked more shredded than the majority of the world's population. Let's be real.
The biggest issue is like
worse.
The Rock is like what 6'4", 6'5"? Like he's a big guy. The issue is that they like shrunk him, but they didn't shrink his head, so he looked like this kind of a brown Q-tip when they shrunk him down. Because like I was like, I understand most like that's the other thing too. A lot of people in Hollywood have bigger heads. Like it makes for good. It makes for good expressions. It makes for good movies. But when they shrunk him to make him skinny, it's like they didn't proportionally shrink his head. And so
it's also a side effect of the
ratios all off.
It just made it look worse because I guess you're also used to seeing him being big and jacked, and then it was just like, man, your head is massive.
He doesn't look like Daryl Strawberry, but I definitely agree.
Yeah. That's fair.
I mean, I will say there were some redeeming qualities in the movie. Atom Smasher trying to bang Cyclone the whole movie constantly made me laugh.
Same
Just
thing.
trying
That's
trying
for
to
the
pick her
teens.
up.
Demographics,
Yeah.
right? Demographics.
The Satan that spawned was actually like kind of cool, especially when he's getting ripped in half.
Yes.
That was
Made me think of
Sabak
like a
or
Doom.
Sabak.
Made me think of like a
whatever his
Doom
name is.
finisher.
right.
Yeah.
Chuggy and brutal.
Yeah.
Chuggy and brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Trademark. Good enough gaming.
Yeah.
Okay, but enough of me like shitting on the movie. I want to hear what like actual fans had to say, because obviously my bias is showing.
So,
I was really interested in the sense that it got a low Rotten Tomato score, which
yeah.
fair enough, but it had one of the highest percentage audience scores.
Which is a weird, like, it doesn't happen often, does it?
It is the biggest gap in differential of any of the superhero movies.
Any of them.
Any of them. So it that's what's kind of thrown me off. When I watched it, I enjoyed the fact that Black Adam actually had action in it, and it wasn't like full dialogue, full like let's have these like heartfelt moment pain, so, like just a lot of chitter chatter about like, oh, the woe is me. Like it was like,
I mean, there still was a bunch of that.
There's always going to be elements of that, but it wasn't the whole movie. Like I wasn't just like watching some shitty Disney flick that I was like, okay,
yeah,
can we get like these guys are supposed to fight each other? Can we just get to that point?
Bambi's mom is dead. Let's move on.
Okay, Trevor and Jordan, if you had to wager like what differential, like percentage difference from critic score to audience score, how many percentage points?
I'm going to say like 50. I'm going to guess that the critic was like 25 and the audience was 75.
Jordan?
Yeah, I'm going to say about 40% swing.
Trevor's actually like right on the nose. It was 50%. The audience or the critic score was only 38%, and the audience score is 88%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a huge difference.
I mean,
It's
if you came into this similar to say a Fast and Furious movie or something where you're like, hey, I'm not coming into this like Marvel where I need to start doing homework as to how everyone's connected to everybody else. Like how this is all going to fit.
It's a big universe now.
This is going to fit into a universe because I know this universe is just about to explode and we're going to go to an alternate universe. If I just come into this saying, hey, I want to watch some action and not have the Disney Marvel like, oh my God, the guy got stabbed, but there's magically no blood. There's no gore. There's no nothing. Like this movie does hit some of those notes where like it's a little bit more adults in the sense that like you actually get to see someone get their ass kicked, someone gets ripped in half. Like it's a little bit more intense that way. So it's like I can see that catching more people's eye if they're like, I know I'm not expecting much. I just want to see an action flick. Like Jordan said today, Jordan watches before the podcast today. The first like 10 minutes of the movie is fucking awesome. Like when they introduce Black Adam and he shreds everybody, you're like, oh, okay, is this what this movie's about? This is sweet. He just turned that man into a skeleton and turned him into dust. That's awesome. Yeah. And like once you get into the story, it kind of fizzles, but the action half of it is pretty good.
Fucking
I think that's why I did so well with the audience. That's what I think was the defining feature for this one, opposed to like most of the other stuff. Which is again, I'm gonna bring it back. Is like to me, this is like more in the line with like the Winter Soldier. There's lots of battle scenes. There's interesting combat with like but the Winter Soldier obviously is like got a great story.
It's a great story,
wicked twist and everything. But it's more leaning back towards that side of it where it's like an action
spy action,
like with something important happening within. Where like so obviously Winter Soldier is a better movie overall. I would have no problem saying that.
I want to confirm that. Okay, thank you.
I will confirm.
I think some superhero movies, to Daryl's point, I think they've lost that a little bit in the last few years where, it's almost like the superhero genre has turned more into like soap opera teen drama type stuff, and then you have a little bit of action and like the final fight between, you know, your hero and villain. But like the issue I've had with a lot of those is that, you know, massive fight that they're leading up to, it's like a 3-minute fight.
It's over so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's funny you bring that up because we're going to talk about that in Black Panther too.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Well,
it's same thing.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of falling into it's falling into like the tech, like fallacy, like similar to what we've seen with a lot of gaming. Like I remember games like release games. We've talked about Godfall. We've talked about like in the past games like Killzone 3. You're like, oh my God, it looks fucking amazing. It's like, but everything behind that is so bad.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, but the graphics are amazing. It's in 8K. And like, I don't care my TV isn't in 8K. Like the game has it has no guts. Right?
Put
like,
lipstick on a pig.
Exactly. It's just, it just doesn't hold up when you go to watch it. It's just like, I mean, I get action. I'm all for action, but it's like I can still like enjoy some story.
Yeah. It's like wrapping a turd in tinfoil and selling it as earrings.
Well, and you know, that's the one thing that I will say I enjoyed with Black Adam is there is a lot of fanfare and a lot of Easter eggs and call outs to comic book fans. And so like I think keeping it true to the source material, I think they did a good job in certain aspects to that. I would have liked to have seen them take it one step further. You know, Kyle mentioned that there's a lot of cheese in this movie. I don't think every superhero movie needs to be a Marvel movie. And, you know, Marvel has found their niche in balancing, you know, action and really good humor and that like banter amongst heroes. While I think there are some DC heroes that can offer that, I don't need that in any of my Black Adam movie. Like, I think a lot of the cheesy and corniness parts were for them trying to be like, well, how can we inject humor and be like edgy and funny in this movie? It's like, you don't have to. Like, if this is just 90 minutes of Black Adam ripping dudes apart, great.
I have no problem with that. I'm going to have no problem with that.
Like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that would be like, yeah, take all my money. I'll chew that shit up. So like, I would just like more superhero movies, DC and Marvel, to be like, yeah, you know what? This is a dark hero. This is a dark story. Let's scrap the fucking humor stuff and let's just
I feel like if they brought back something like Punisher and made like a hard R Punisher for Marvel, it would be extremely successful. Even the mixing it with Daredevil. Yeah.
Like the show was really good, and it was dark and it was violent. Like the Daredevil show, same thing. Like it was
Hell, even with fucking John Travolta, the original The Punisher movie.
That was a good movie.
It really wasn't bad. I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
God, that movie's old too.
Oh yeah, it makes me feel.
You know what? I still remember the one part of that movie where he makes the guy like sitting there with a grenade in his hand and he tied it to the roof.
It's fucking awesome. Or he turned he turned his switchblade into like a little like gun knife.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Genius.
So good. But was there any critical moments, I guess, from Daryl or Jordan? Because like same as Kyle, I don't understand all of these characters. I kind of have a vague background on most of them, so I'm trying to like explain this movie to my wife as we're watching it. Was there any like key? I mean, not that it's going to matter in the new DC universe, but were there any like key Easter eggs that were like to you guys that were like, holy shit, like that was really cool that they did that?
Well, he's directly linked to Shazam, the character.
Yes.
So like
that was the first point of confusion with my wife, where she's like, is Shazam like the abracadabra? Like, is that the magic word, or are we referring to the person? Like,
because like the Zachary Levi movies, like him as Shazam the wizard is the same.
It's the same
Is it
guy,
the same
yeah.
wizard or is it the same council of wizards?
It's the whole. It's
both.
all of it. It was the
Both.
same.
Okay.
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually the same, and even the casting was the same, like for the wizard. So they're directly linked, which I was like, when you need to inject the humor, Shazam is that because
He's the humor, yeah.
it's a kid, right? So that's when you can if you were going to do a Shazam versus Black Adam movie and it was still The Rock, and that would that's your opportunity to go funny. So I agree with Jordan.
Yeah, really,
But that
really
character is funny.
serious and then really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
whereas this is your introduction to Black Adam, and it's like the only person that probably should have been funny was Adam Smasher. Like I feel like that was like the only guy that probably should have had quirky, funny moments.
Adam Smasher, son of the Fawns. He's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jukebox.
but no, there's some interesting parts within that as they're like talking about the council and how he gets the magic and like kind of how it was spread and how he knows that he's not the only one wielding it now somehow, and so like he's aware of Shazam but doesn't really know who it is.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then there's I forget what Hawkman had one item, and I was like, oh, that's not
The mace? No, that's like his normal thing.
No, that's his normal weapon.
Although that was fucking wicked. That's a pretty cool.
that is a sweet
superhero
weapon.
weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought his outfit looked great. Like I thought Hawkman actually looked super dope.
His helmet was a little much for me. It was like huge, like huge.
Eh.
That's what it looks like, man. Like
it is what
they
it is.
modernized it. It looks kind of, but it's supposed to be golden and regal because there's Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and like that's
All right.
their shit. So
Yeah.
But
So is that
honestly, the best part of this movie was Dr. Fate.
Is
Dr.
that like
Fate
the
was
same
best.
Dr. Fate
Hawkman
is
that's
the
in
best.
like the Titans show? Is that supposed to be the same person?
No,
Okay.
that's Hawk and Dove,
oh,
and those are
oh.
two different. Those are street level.
If
It's just like Marvel. You have your
I get
higher
that,
tier,
but, like,
and you have your street level guys, and
If you were to
Yeah.
watch the animated Justice League show from the 2000s, like
you wouldn't
that's,
understand. Yeah,
that's the character that you're getting. In
Gotcha.
this movie.
Because we're also dealing with we're not dealing with the Justice League. We're dealing with like
it's the League of
Wish,
Justice.
the
Or
Wish version
Justice,
of the League of Justice.
Justice Society.
Society.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. This is like
that's
this
gross.
is meant to be
Blaze.
this is meant to be like the precursor. Yeah, this is meant to be
To
like
the
the
Justice
precursor to the Justice League. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So then they can just reboot it all again.
Well,
Well,
I
that's
think rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it needs to be done.
It was a mess. Like it was it was a mess.
Yeah.
And
They need
I
one
don't know.
person to sort it out.
Yes.
they still kept Amanda Waller. Like they used her casting and voice for at the end, and then obviously Henry Cavill makes his cameo at the very end in the
I mean, that was
in the
like
credits,
the other
the bonus
best,
scene.
That was the other best part of the movie. I was like, oh shit. And then it's
Well-
like, oh, actually, he's not Superman anymore.
That would have been
Yeah,
that also would have
was
been a really
great-
good fight.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
have been awesome. That's what I want to
Yeah.
watch. And I was like, oh, that's not going to happen.
Because in terms of power level, like it's not that far off. Like Superman's still more powerful, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
not by a whole ton.
I do have another
I
question.
did, I
mean,
did
just
like that after
get into
credit
this.
though.
We'll get into this a little bit with Black Panther. Why can everyone in DC fucking fly?
Oh yeah.
Why everyone
just
and their
everyone.
dog is just like, yeah, flying's a normal. That's the first step of being a superhero is you fly, and then you get other powers on top of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I get it, but it also creates these superheroes similar to Superman. That's my only complaint with Superman. It was like you just have too many things going on.
Right.
Maybe it's just that they can travel to these other countries and not have to like hop on the plane with the regular people and get
Yeah,
caught.
but true, but it also creates like a point of like, I don't know, discord and weakness, and being able to like
I
do
feel
where it's
like
like Superman's
having
like, I can
some-
do whatever I want.
I
having
feel
some
like
limitations.
I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of DC characters, at least the ones that we've seen, I think a lot of them gain their powers from outside of our world, right? And so like part of the reason why Superman can fly is because the gravity here is so much lower than,
Krypton
back at Krypton.
So on
right?
Krypton, is he just like a nerd? Is he just like a basic bitch on Krypton?
They all are. Yeah. They're just normal peeps.
Yeah,
Someone just grabbing his Clark Kent glasses and like throwing them on the ground, like, "Hey, nerd!" He goes to Earth, and he's like, "I'm so cool."
Yeah, I'm way better.
I'm in disguise.
I mean, to be super nerdy, they've announced that they're going to do a Booster Gold thing,
which
and
is
that's
awesome.
literally his thing. Is he's from the future, but he was a nobody, and if everybody fucking hated him, and so he traveled back in time so that he could be cool. That's basically his thing.
That's this whole story.
So he's Biff. He's Biff from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, the new announcement for DC does look interesting. It looks a little grittier. There's a couple of varieties of things, and I'm curious to see where they take it. I'm hoping the planned direction makes things a little bit better.
yeah.
When they said they wanted to keep Zachary Levi as Shazam, because he
Pretty much
hadn't
everybody
really touched anything else.
Everybody.
And so
young
I was
that
like,
they kept.
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do if they're gonna open up the multiverse or if they're gonna.
Well, they kept, so they haven't officially said anything about other people. So like Gal Gadot, they've said is I think staying on. Zachary Levi, they haven't said anything about freaking Ezra. Although the hope is that they don't keep him.
The Flash movie has to come out first. That has to release and be out there, and then they can go, oh yeah, no.
He's not coming
Yeah.
back.
Gone.
I mean, you can still
done.
say that.
Yeah.
I mean, if the movie's, I don't know if the movie's done filming. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I feel like they should say that sooner than later based on everything going on.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember who else. I thought they kept one other person, but I can't remember who it was.
Well,
but essentially all the younger cast.
Jason Momoa has already announced that he is staying in the DC, but the rumor right now is that he won't return as Aquaman.
Fucking why not?
Lobo.
He's going to be it's Aquaman.
He's going to be Lobo, which is
and he's going to be a great Lobo
comic.
Yeah,
that is the perfect casting.
Yeah.
Premier.
So if he is Lobo, if the rumors are true, I'm cool with them recasting Aquaman because he is a better Lobo, 100%.
Okay.
And he's a huge Lobo fan. He has every Lobo comic. That's his favorite guy.
I think they need to go back to the white bread Aquaman.
The orange,
orange shirt, green tights.
Orange and green,
rubber gloves
blonde hair.
Yeah.
Get one of the Beach Boys. Are they still around?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious if you guys had to score Black Adam, what would you score?
Here it comes. Kyle's going to rock
I
it with
have
a 2.
one more suggestion for Aquaman.
Okay.
Johnny Depp. just out of spite. Johnny Depp, Aquaman.
Just out of spite. Because Amber Heard was Mira.
Fuck you, Amber Heard.
They will link Marvel, Disney with the DC universe. Captain Jack Sparrow will drown and become Aquaman.
That's the crossover event we never knew we needed until now. Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
It's like the most petty revenge.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
That's great.
All right, sorry, Jordan. Scores.
Okay, so scores.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Scores.
Trevor, start us off.
I feel like I didn't know enough to get all the little things, but overall, I got to give it a 5. The action was there, but the rest of it just did not do it for me.
Jordan?
I want the other non-DC person first.
4, 5.
4. That's generous. I thought you were going to give it a 1.
I got to laugh at it. I got I got to actually write down Black Adam, the Yeet Machine. So it's not all bad.
We need the rewind footage. What score did Kyle give Eternals?
Oh,
Probably the same.
Probably might have been a bit higher, but probably not.
I think
this was okay. This might be better than Eternals, but just by a bit.
Might be.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It for sure
It
is.
It is. All right, Daryl, what's your score?
I'm like a 7. I was a big fan of the action, and I think it's different if you know the other characters. Like, I am very familiar with Dr. Fate and Hawkman, and so I didn't like if I think about it as an outsider. If like I didn't know anything about those people, I would have been a little frustrated with how shitty their backstory is, especially Hawkman's. Like, there's no explanation to him at all.
Not gonna lie, I was expecting Dr. Fate, like, because they didn't advertise anything at all, and I don't know Black Adam. I thought Dr. Fate was going to be the bad guy in this movie.
Oh,
like that was kind of the way. Like with Pierce Brosnan, right, being like the next probably highest paid actor in this movie. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be Black Adam against Dr. Fate. That'll be wicked.
It was kind of like a triangle of
But the defining features to me were the action, like the actual fighting that was happening in the movie, and I literally think Pierce Brosnan knocked that shit out of the park. Like Dr. Fate was so cool.
I just wanted more Dr. Fate.
The stuff that they had him doing, like the CGI stuff they had him in, I was like, this is awesome.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like,
they talked to the Doctor Strange. They talked to the Doctor Strange people, and they're like, "How do we do this?
Don't do the music note fight."
Yeah.
Okay, multiplying the character, cool. Music fights, no.
Yeah. Do not do that.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't resurrect himself either, though. So
no, he did not.
Yeah, that's true. I would probably score it a 6. A lot of my positives are very similar to Daryl's. I think Dr. Fate was awesome. I really hope that they bring Pierce Brosnan back as like a multiversal version, because I think that's perfect casting for that character.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. I think Black Adam's final suit when he comes back with the cape and the gauntlets and everything like that is phenomenal.
Blacker Adam.
And then the action is great. That's why you would watch this movie is for the action and just to see how powerful and how crazy his abilities and powers are. But the backstory, the overall narrative of the movie, and then like I said, trying to inject the MCU humor, cheesy shit. Like I'm done with it in a lot of these movies. So
you're grown up, damn it.
Yeah. So that's definitely what brings it down for me. But I understand it's not just for grown ass people. But I do think even just taking the cheesiness out, I don't think you necessarily lose your younger demographic either.
Fair. Well, that takes the first half of the album, the Black Album.
Yes.
All right. So to take a little break from the first half of our double Black Album. That's a music joke because we're stepping into another edition of the Good Enough Jukebox. Good Enough Jukebox.
Juke it up. I mean, I gotta say, we didn't talk about the corniness of the Black Adam soundtrack, which was on par with like a Thor movie.
I'll give you that. Well, it's another time. My pick this week is actually kind of a combo jukebox treasure trove.
So this was one that was glaring at me on PS Extra for a little while, just kind of looking for something to play. I talked to Jordan about this game. It's called Omno. 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 So Omno is a. It's like
you played this? No.
Exactly. So Omno is like it's a low poly. It's like high graphics but low poly. So everything's kind of like cubey and like kind of got like a fun design to it. It's a really low key, like exploratory game. So if you kind of like something like Journey, it also has a lot of hints of like Kena Bridge of Spirits in it. There's a couple characters that actually look like they're straight out of Kena. Even the main character kind of looks like they took a version of Kena and turned it into this kind of like caricature cartoon thing. Right. But essentially you're exploring, you're trying to find this light. It seems like everyone else has gone. They've like followed these shaman or whatever it is to the light, to the other world. So you explore these varying areas with like, there's like little, puzzles. You unlock a couple skills like a dash, a jump, a teleport, and some other little things. But if you liked games like Kena or like Journey, the soundtrack for this, like this is the most chill, like 10 hours of gaming I've ever had, where I'm just going to like pop around and like go look for this stuff. Like it's probably a pretty easy platinum. There was a couple like little challenges to do, but really easy. Each area has a couple, bits of lore to unlock. And yeah, it was a super chill game. It was really fun. There's a part you have like a staff. There's a part where your staff, you turn it into a snowboard and you just like kind of like swoosh down like a snowy hill. Like it's
like that super old. Do you remember that game? Where you're skiing down the hill with the abominable snowman.
Oh God, not that one. No,
Ski Free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Way more chill than that. But yeah, just like a really light, kind of relaxing soundtrack. So,
Right.
Both, free on PS. I think it's on PS Plus Extra.
Yes.
And then I'm not sure about other services, but if not, check out the soundtrack. It's a good relaxing time.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's on my list. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a pretty solid jukebox there, Trev.
Yep.
It's a goodie.
So coming back from the jukebox, we're going to step into our second movie review, which actually just came out on Disney Plus, which was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
If you could get it to work.
Really? I had no issue.
I think PlayStation, there's a couple issues with it, I guess, with sound and a couple other things that just like didn't work for a lot of people.
I don't have surround sound, so
it's horse shit.
I don't get to watch movies at like good
These
volume.
sound snobs, I tell you.
I know.
Even just anything.
Come on now.
Like when I first watched it, I had just like a sound bar with like two side speakers, and it would only come out of the sound bar. And then I switched to PC or whatever, and it worked fine. But I think there was other people that had issues just even like playing the movie.
Yeah. And I mean, like, obviously this, like, the movie starts out like they can't not address.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it starts off pretty heavy. Like even the Marvel rendering is just nothing but Chadwick Boseman.
How awesome was that, by the way, having them from like the opening credit, just all his stuff.
Just him.
That was really nice.
So obviously they address his death in the movie, and it was almost like similar to the Spider-Man one, where it's like everywhere I go I see your face, and you've got like
graffiti and street art.
Yeah, you've got him drawn up like street art on the side of a building and stuff. It's like shit. One thing I found really, really kind of cool and interesting with like their blend of like their Wakandan tech with like their traditional funeral rites and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I found that very, very cool and very interesting the way they did that in this sort of like an example of, keeping your culture, but also, maintaining your, what's the word I'm looking for?
Utilizing technology and
that really well in the first one to
maintain.
You're not losing sight of where you came from, right?
Yeah.
And
you still have your cultural traditions, but still stay with current times.
I agree with Trevor. They did a really good job of that in the first movie as well. Even just like the trial by fire, so to speak, on the edge of the waterfall, having the fight and everything, like, and everybody's there and everybody's chanting, like,
and then there's a spaceship in the background.
And then you got your futuristic flying saucer coming out of nowhere. But I've always liked the Black Panther movies for that blend of both sides. They've done a really good job of that.
The Queen's like attire and outfits were like always fucking fire. Like everything, every single one.
That when she walks in, and everything in that is awesome.
When she walks into the UN, like, oh shit.
Her monologue in the throne room when she when she basically takes the general title away. From the one girl, and like that whole monologue and the pain and the emotion that she showed, and like
did she get nominated for a Grammy or an Oscar?
She did
something.
Rightfully,
I think she won. I think she won Best Actress, Golden Globe,
supporting role or whatever.
Okay,
one of those.
But yeah, like that was, you could feel the pain and the anguish, for what she's dealt with. Like she was phenomenal in this movie. Every scene she was in, she stole that scene.
I do have to say, in Marvel, like I know Marvel isn't always the case with this. Like we talk Thor and stuff like that. I did appreciate in this one though, between Shuri and Namor, is that you're dealing with like if you're talking about superpowers, it's like, well, kind of like the Peter Parker effect, right? Like I have superpowers, therefore my body doesn't need to look like I'm like, gonna win the next like world's strongest man competition.
Right. Yeah.
So like Namor like being like relatively fit, and then Shuri being like a beanpole was kind of interesting to see, where they're like, oh yeah, these are like normal people superheroes.
Yeah, but I mean, like Namor still like projected this like dominant personality, right?
He had that big dick energy.
Yeah.
Again, in my notes, I have Namor gives 0 fucks. Like,
dude is mad. They found his avatar, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's funny you say that. That is in my notes. I said, wow, what are the odds that we get the Avatar Way of the Water and the Namor and his people? Like, what are those people called? Like, I can't
remember the name of
Talokans.
Talokans. Yeah. And I was like, what are the odds we get those in the same year as well? Like, and they're blue and they're. And I was like, oh my god, this is really funny. I was like, Marvel, way to release your shit. They're supposed to, because
they're both using whales as like a way of travel underwater.
Big whales made sense to me, but like seeing killer whales, I'm like, this is just fucking
the orcas.
Orca delivery. I also have written down whale Uber.
Is that Uber Blue? Is that like Uber
it's
Black,
a bloober.
It's Uber Blue, a bloober.
I really, really enjoyed that they actually included like Aztec culture in it as well. Cool. So like, if you remember like the fight scene on the bridge where they threw that water grenade and the guy like hit bounces it.
Yeah, like that's that game.
Like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were playing that underwater too.
Which is
later
dope.
in the movie.
Which is awesome.
So it's so fucking cool that they actually like took the time to include that and fully like flesh out the backstory of these Talokan people. Right? Like they could have just like not included that detail and nobody would have given a shit. But like including that and noticing it feels like they actually put a lot more time into it.
There's a lot of cool Mayan pieces that like thrown into that, and architecture and art style and like all that stuff. I was like, okay, this is very cool.
I also do appreciate that when Shuri referred to I can't even remember his name. I don't remember his character's name. The white guy. She's like, "Oh, my favorite colonizer."
That's always so funny.
Yeah, that's
or like at the end when Anoye's like, "Oh, now I've seen it all. A colonizer in chains."
Just like, yikes.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say, like, through the whole movie, like the costume design and like the set and backdrop were always just like phenomenal.
You're excluding Ironheart from that conversation, right?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
That Transformers Power Ranger.
Okay,
outfit.
like, but it's like Iron Man's like Mark 1, Mark 2, right? Like,
fuck that. This is my biggest problem with this whole movie. Number one, Ironheart was a completely inconsequential component to this entire movie.
Yes.
Didn't need to be there.
Didn't even need to be in the movie.
No.
Fucking pointless.
Except she was the scientist that built the.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Fucking throw another scientist in there. Fuck.
Here is like literally this was the part I was like, this is the dumbest shit. Like, this is the biggest miss in this movie, where they're back in Wakanda and they're working on the tech to like figure out. Shuri's working on the DNA strand on how to like use the fiber to cure whatever make the
heart
flower.
shape.
Yeah, make the heart-shaped flower again.
Yeah.
And fucking Ironheart's back there tinkering with all the old shit, and she's like soldering and using the torch. She using like fucking steel, like an actual piece of steel, carves out the heart out of it, and then uses new gen tech that the Wakandans have in their actual fight. What the fuck were you working on? Like, there's no way you used any of that in your actual fight. There's no way that piece of shit that you were hammering together is what you wore in that fight. That didn't happen.
She's smithing a sword.
You just see the director go, guys, wait. This is going to be so meaningful.
I need a shot of various ironworks.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? Unless she did show up in a fucking Mark 1 looking suit that she built for herself.
Giant,
like
just
Iron Man
huge
stuff.
can.
And I was like, you sure used Wakandan tech to make this suit. Why the fuck are we watching you tweak with like gears from your old car trying to put this suit together? Like, it's not what
It's got vibranium right there. Like it's
there.
It's fucking everywhere. Like
I'm using a piece of sheet metal that I found on my old machine that was underwater.
She's over here.
Let me go to pick apart and spend $25 on some fucking sheet metal.
She's competing on an episode of Forged in Fire. Like, make a sword in 3 hours using this golf club. I'm like, okay.
I was like, there is no parallel there. That was a complete break for me. I was like, this is dumb. This is so stupid.
And just the end design too for Ironheart just drove me nuts. I was like, I feel like I'm looking at a Pokemon character.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I was like, what cartoony? I was like,
what in the Ben 10 is this?
That's what I mean. If they made that like the mech suit for the next like Power Rangers movie, I'd be like, oh, okay.
I could see that.
But for this, I was just like, oh, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it was the same thing with having America Chavez in the last Doctor Strange. Like, the character doesn't need to be in the movie, and I think Ironheart's the same thing. Like, this movie does not get better or worse if Ironheart is not in the movie.
You mean Basic Bitch Big Hero 6?
I mean, that's a Disney IP. Let's bring in him.
Yeah, crossover.
Yeah.
Bring in Baymax.
Oh my god. Okay, did you guys notice that Namor actually used the word mutant?
Yes.
Yeah, they're allowed to say
that was huge. That was
awesome. I lost, of course, because like I lost my shit. I was like,
we can say the naughty word mutant now.
I was actually waiting for the like.
Again.
I own the song now too. Just play it all the fucking time.
Just play it in every movie.
Don't give
it in there. Yeah.
Just taunting the shit out of fans.
Oh man, yeah.
Okay.
Now, sorry. Does Namor have ankle wings in the comic books?
Yes,
he does.
Yes, that's what gives him the quad strafe jump.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Jumping around like fucking James Harden doing a step back out here.
No travel, though.
No.
This is
no travel.
Never.
Yeah,
His feet never touch the ground, technically.
That's true.
You're right.
Yeah. The winged legs are kind of OP.
Yeah, that one was on that. See, that to me was another one where I was looking at him like, okay, so he's a man of water. I'm like, why does he get fucking winged feet?
Yeah.
Like, if anything, you have like little flippers to make him like move faster in the water. Why does he get fucking like Hermes wings? Like he's a Greek god.
It's funny because Marvel hasn't been afraid to make small changes to characters to like modernize them.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
to me, Namor with winged ankles seemed like the weirdest fucking thing to me.
No, I loved it.
Like,
I thought it was the funniest shit to watch when he was like coming out of the water and they're just like fluttering like crazy. Like I was like, okay, this guy is supposed to be so intimidating. And I was like, but I would not be able to take that seriously if it was
little flutter wings.
If that was flying outside my window, I'd be like,
now once again, spoilers.
What are those?
So once again, talking spoilers. So aside from their plan to use the Easy Bake Oven to like,
oh my god,
I honestly halfway through the movie, I was like, they're gonna like pin him down and they're gonna clip his wings like a fucking parakeet at home so he can't fly away. And that was my thought, that was gonna be their solution. Like, we're gonna clip the tips of his wings and he won't fly, and then we can just like beat the shit out of him.
I mean, she did a bit.
Yeah, she did.
Well, she clipped him. Yeah, clipped him on one.
So in my notes, I have sauna greater than Namor.
It's gotta be a dry sauna. It's gotta be an infrared sauna though.
Yeah,
not that old
moisture. Also, that like final fight scene was probably the most disappointing. Like 2 minutes. I've been impaled. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're friends now.
Yeah.
The fuck?
I honestly, I think part of the reason why I challenge you to a duel. I think why so many of the fights are average now is because the CGI is so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Because like most of the final fights in these movies aren't two real actors going toe to toe.
No.
And doing like some crazy choreographed fight. It's computer generated character versus computer generated character.
Well,
and you can tell when the budget ran out at the end.
That's what I was going to say, is like, based on Black Adam and this, there, just before that fight, there's a section where, like, obviously I know a lot of this stuff does use like mocap and stuff like that. There was a section, I think just when she gets onto the beach, where I think they had to like bridge something where they didn't have mocap and they had to just use CGI, and it looked like it was from like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Just like you could just see this like very distinct like person in front, like fake 3D thing in front of a fake 3D background, and just for like a 2 or 3 second clip, and I was just like, what the fuck was that? Like, I was like, that was so unnecessary, and it looked so horrible. I was like, oh.
That was my other problem with Ironheart. Ironheart looked different from everything else.
She was like a Hot Wheels flying in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the whole
I think
design
back
was
to the Iron Man movies. Like, Iron Man looked crisp and it looked like it looked good, and I was like, this looks like shit. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
Okay, but on the other end of things, how fucking sweet was that Killmonger cameo?
Oh, buddy.
Oh, fuck. I texted Kyle about this in the middle of the movie when it happened, because I was like, I have to tell somebody. I have to. This is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but when they announced that Chadwick had died and that they were going to continue on with the Black Panther like franchise and movie, I think there's in some of the comic books, Shuri is like the person that takes over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, that makes the most sense. But when Marvel kept being like, oh no, we're doing something, you won't guess. It's a surprise. You won't figure it out. And I was like, yo, but what if Killmonger didn't die? Or like, what if they put him in a cryo chamber or some shit like that?
Yeah.
And they were just like healing him slowly, or like the vibranium was healing him and whatever. Just putting him in locks. Yeah. And I was just like, what if he came back? And they're like, no, because Namor was like fucking everybody up, and they're like, we need somebody that can fight. Let's bring back Killmonger. Yeah. And I would have been like, yes, let's go. Because he was incredible. Yeah. He's such a Michael B. Jordan. He's still one of the best
villains they've ever had in the MCU. Like he's still top 3 probably for villains.
I am curious to know what the original plan was, if like Chadwick was around.
I know this answer.
Was it still supposed to be like Namor? Like they were going to do that still? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was, but it was supposed to be more of a father and son story, which is why in the credits at the end, they introduced his son. And apparently he actually like was in that first shot where she goes to the school to recruit Nakia.
Oh,
yeah. That was the boy that came up and was like, led her to the
kid was adorable.
That's cool. Yeah, super cute. Yeah,
kid's mouth was as big as his face.
Yeah,
she's like ah.
But yeah, so that was supposed to be the original story.
Gotcha.
Right.
But
I love when he was like, "That's my Haitian name, my real name,
like,
Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa." I was like,
I was like, oh fuck yeah, so good. Yeah,
get some.
Speaking of like comic book consistent stuff, I really also enjoyed that they included that Imperious Rex.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm not super familiar with Namor, so I had to like look it up. And in Latin, it means Empire King.
Which is super funny because that's also the name of the one bad dinosaur that they named in one of the Jurassic Park movies.
Imperious Rex.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like I can't remember which one of the Chris Pratt ones. And I was like, I'm confused for a second here. What's happening?
It's just devil
Wasn't that
dinosaur in the background.
Indominus?
Oh, it was the Indominus Rex. That's where I was just like, for a second, I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of his like battle cries or like intimidation stuff is just was that. So I'm glad that they like included more like comic book consistent stuff. I was a little disappointed that they're like the soundtrack through the movie wasn't as good. Like
it's tough to beat the first one,
Yes.
but I still thought the music was good in this.
Yeah.
I still thought the music
was
good.
more on par and like in tune with what was happening versus like say a Thor movie or Black Adam where they're like, let's just hit the 70s 80s like
classic rock button.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yeah.
Well, I think this movie was less about finding like songs to go in it, and it was more orchestral and like Trevor said, it was more kind of setting the mood to what you were actually looking at. So yeah, a little bit of a different kind of concept, I guess. But
I mean that first trailer they had for it with like the Bob Marley transitioning to Kendrick Lamar, like hit so fucking hard that I was just like really hoping for more like that kind of stuff in the soundtrack, because that like that whole like that I think about that trailer and I get chills still because that was one of the best trailers.
Yeah. I do have to say though, they did keep throughout this movie, aside from maybe one or two lines from M'Baku, this movie did keep it fairly serious, which I appreciated. I was like, okay, getting rid of this like phase 4 Marvel, getting to the next phase, it's like, let's not do a fucking goofy ass movie. Like a true
I kept a more serious
to Chadwick Boseman and like a good farewell and moving on, but it wasn't like they didn't give Shuri like some weird ass like sidekick fucking talking mouse character or something weird, right? I mean, Ironheart wasn't great.
Saw that coming.
Ironheart wasn't great, but they didn't give her some like comic relief.
Like, she wasn't super cheesy.
She was annoying as fuck. Her character was like, even when they came to get her and she's like, oh my God, it's the Princess of Wakanda. Am I being recruited? No, but you're going to die and we need you to come with it. And she's like, no, I don't want to go. you just had a fucking fangirl moment for your hero. And they're like asking you to come with it. No, I got to go to class in 15 minutes. Like,
I've got a midterm.
The character made no sense. There was no her whole character.
But they had to intro her because she's getting her own series.
Which is if it's any better than She-Hulk, maybe it can save her. But God,
yeah. The one thing I did like towards the end. I hope not. Fuck. I will be done with the series. I did like the call outs on Shuri's suit to Killmonger.
Yes,
like the gold trim as well as the dots all over the
well,
suit.
that's the suit she ended up going and like. She picked up the head, whatever, and like that's what she heard. So that's what she wore. And I was like watching with my buddy, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Yeah, if you remember, like Chadwick never wore that one. That was Killmonger's suit." Yeah. He never put that one on. She was working on it. She was getting it finished, and she was like, "You need to upgrade." And he was like, "Nah, I'm good." Like, and that's the one that Killmonger wore. And I was like, because was her vision. I was like, that was a good parallel. Like, just ran through there.
That.
What were everyone's thoughts on the other mech suits that looked like the guy from Hellboy?
They were weird. I mean, like
the Midnight
it served a purpose.
Whatever with the Midnight Engine.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah. I didn't mind the suit when it was active. I thought it looked dumb as shit when it removed the mask. But they still had like this weird mullet, skullet piece hanging off the back of the head.
Dreads.
Yeah.
With their dreads hanging off the back.
Yeah,
I was like, what am I looking at?
really
Hulk Hogan
stupid.
here? Like, what is happening with this?
Yeah.
Here to protect Wakanda, brother.
Eat your vitamins.
Yeah, I could have done without that, but the rest of the suit, I mean, again, I would have been okay with or without it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that she was working on it beforehand. I felt like that's like one of those moments where, oh, we have to fight them underwater. We need a suit that can do something, or we need tech. And so, like, make it then. And you're like, no, I'm putting you in this. Like, I need you in this. And we've made this just to battle these guys, because that's what Shuri's the friggin' brains, right? Like, she's a genius.
Yeah.
And she makes all that stuff on the fly, and she can do all that stuff super fast. So I was just like, that, I don't know, like the introduction of working on it early or whatever. I was like, for what? Like, what are you doing with this?
Right. That's
But there was, and on to further, like what Trevor was going, I actually thought M'Baku, like, was a really good role in this movie.
It's a little
for
bit
like
more
what he offered.
Yeah.
As like a mentor and like a protector, and now potentially leading the Wakandans, like, since Shuri is gone to Haiti and is probably going to do her own thing. Looks like she's like stepping back completely. And so like having him look after Wakanda, I think is going to be very interesting. And
I liked the scene between him and Shuri in the forest. You know, like just him asking, you know, what does your head tell you? What does your heart tell you? You know, like, we haven't really seen that side of M'Baku in the first movie.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of nice to see that in the second one. It's like, oh, okay, this is a more dynamic character that we could see in the future, either leading the country or, you know, maybe having a bigger role elsewhere.
Yeah. Not just
it was hilarious though when he jumped at Namor and just got like
wrecked,
punted.
What's to show you like how strong
he got Imperious wrecked.
Yeah, but it's also to show you how strong Namor is, right? Because like same thing, he doesn't look like a traditional superhero. He's not super swole and jacked, right? So he's just like, oh yeah, I fight these guys all the time. It's like, oh no, actually this dude is like God.
Also,
it's a 500-year-old mutant.
Yeah. Can we also just laugh a little bit that Namor and his army basically just threw weaponized water balloons to attack people?
Okay, those water bombs were dope though. Like with like.
I mean, the special effects look cool. I agree, but let's be honest, they're fucking water balloons.
Yeah,
like, come on.
I was like, okay, so these guys are also been around for centuries and have access to like their own type of vibranium, like, and the special plant, herb, like whatever. And I was like, and the best they could come up with was just a whole net full of water bombs.
Yeah,
like that.
Just like just like that orc from Lord of the Rings, just like running with the bomb on his head.
Yeah.
It's like that's what you like.
It works.
Shouldn't you just like? I mean, I guess, but I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, couldn't you have built your own mechanized whale or something that like came and
they didn't have the tech, right? They're very like more traditionalist.
I guess
they didn't want to be discovered, but they still have that fucking crazy city down there. That's like,
and a whole shit ton of vibranium too.
Yeah.
They made fucking masks so that they could breathe out of water. Like, you telling me they can make that, but can't make something?
There was a couple parts where they were using the
mask. It was literally just like a
a
mask full of water, wasn't it?
I know. All I could think of was like the scene from The Other Guys when Will Ferrell's talking about the tuna taking on the line, and he's like, what if they made a series of breathing apparatuses out of kelp and came on land? And now we're coming after you and your pride. Now what? Now you've pissed. You want to piss off a whole school of tuna? I'll take the tuna every single time. I was like, so. I also thought it was interesting that, like, in the scenes where they're changing, upon having to go into the water, that they were like normal skin color under the water, like they turned blue when they were above, and they needed like oxygen from the water. And as soon as they got in the water, they went back to like normal skin color. And I was like, yo, that's kind of crazy. Like, that's a wild.
Yeah.
So like one of those,
Facet
it's
to
like
have.
one of those toys, and you pour like hot water versus cold water
Yeah,
on it, and
yeah.
it changes color.
Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, but like, isn't it in the comics or like the universe? Like, can't the Telecans like shapeshift a little bit? Like, can't they change their pigment and stuff to like normal skin color so that they could like go into regular society and like integrate and infiltrate?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question.
Well read on the Telecans, and
Yeah, I'm not
Like not like
familiar with them
shapeshift
enough.
like the
like not like the scroll.
the scroll, but like they can change their skin color to like look like a normal person again and kind of sit there, because I'm pretty sure that's in like one of the
Maybe.
And what
think
does
that's
a
in Civil
normal
War.
person's
I think-
skin color look like, Daryl?
Ooh, we're not
Okay,
touching.
they're not
we're not,
blue,
we're not
asshole.
touching that one. We're not touching that one. Christ.
Okay, so just setting up traps for Daryl here. That's all. So we've done the rating for Black Adam. I'm suspecting that this one will be higher. Daryl, how would you rate
I'm actually
Wakanda
dead
Forever?
I am giving it another classic IGN 7.
Middle of the road.
I thought there's lots of defining really good qualities. What they did for Chadwick was really good. The Killmonger bit was amazing. I really, really loved that. And there's some really cool facets. But to the opposite end, this lacked the like battle that could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And like a final face-off kind of thing between Wakanda's finest and the Telecan warriors. Like, I thought that could have been done at such a better level, kind of Infinity War-esque, like
Yeah, two warring nations going after
big
each other.
field battle, crazy amounts of people fighting kind of thing. And
Instead of like on top of a ship.
yeah, instead of like Wish's Titanic. Like I just like that
The
was,
Titanic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Ironheart ruined the movie for me. Like I couldn't get past that character.
See, I didn't mind Ironheart.
She was
that much.
annoying and just nothing made sense for me.
Yeah,
like
sure.
if she went there and Shuri made her a suit, and like maybe during the time that the Telecans tried to get her, they paralyzed her or something, like anything like that, where she needed that.
Yeah.
She needed that component to be something else and be helpful. It would have made more sense, but I just was like,
Man.
this is you're just introducing a female Iron Man and just throwing it in there. Like you copy pasted it and we're like, here you go. Robert Downey Jr. is dead. Here it is. Like
Yeah, here's your replacement.
That was the big one that got me. It's like, okay, she developed this herself, but the user interface was the Iron Man interface. Like when they would do her face shots, and I'm just like, how the fuck would you know what that looks like?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
she got a bootleg copy.
She torrented that.
Yeah, there you go.
Without her, it might have been like an 8.5. But like honestly,
Okay.
I couldn't get past it. That her character drove me nuts.
Jordan?
I'm sitting at a 7. It was a better movie than Black Adam for me, but it wasn't a perfect Marvel movie by any means. I don't know how you make a better movie trying to, fill the shoes that Chadwick Boseman had.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big shoes.
the fact that they even attempted to make a sequel after that and everything, like, I mean, kudos to them. I think the Queen, Angela Bassett, Namor,
She definitely made it. Yeah.
Oh, she crushed it.
Yeah, like her, Namor, the Killmonger scene, like those were all phenomenal. I think the movie ran into some pacing issues.
It was long too.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of hitting a little bit of the Marvel issue right now, where like the only way to properly introduce new characters and give them proper backstories is to make a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of becoming an issue for them. So, I'm sitting at a 7. I enjoyed it. but it's definitely not my favorite Marvel movie by any means.
Fair. Trevor?
Yeah, I'm about the same, like 6.5, 7. Like I agree with Jordan. It felt very drawn out, even for what they were trying to cover. The other one we didn't talk about as well that I thought was really funny was the Wakandan Jarvis. That was
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so same thing. It was just like I was like, okay, I feel like you got a bunch of stuff from like Iron Man and got some inspiration, but it just like it didn't make sense where it came from.
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest thing to me was they did a more serious movie that bridged a bit of a gap. I'm curious to see where they go with the whole like Namor team up, like the world's coming to get us sort of thing. Like I wonder if that's going to play into like the Secret Invasion a little bit, stuff like that.
I think he plays a part in that.
I think
Well,
so.
isn't Namor like
Avengers.
part of the Illuminati?
He's a part of a couple things.
Yes.
He's
In one of the
yeah, he's played a role in a couple different like organizations. So I'm wondering if they're going to try and draw him back in for something like that with like the whole Secret Invasion, which then becomes like essentially like Marvel Civil War again kind of idea. But yeah, overall like 6.5, 7. I kind of agree with the guys. Like CGI was at times, and it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah. I think I probably liked it a bit more than you guys did, but not like a ton. I'm sitting at like 7.5.
Okay.
Ish. But like again, like the CGI lacking in parts definitely like takes you out of the movie as a whole when it's like it's looking really good and it looks like shit and it looks good again. And you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
You know? Like
it's so funny because if it was consistently like average, you'd get used to it and it'd be fine. But when it's like really good and then it like dips, you're like, oh, I noticed that looks like shit.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the actress that plays Shuri like got herself into some trouble with some shit during filming. Regarding like COVID based shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know if she's coming back or not.
Oh damn.
Not quite like Ezra Miller levels of stuff, but like misinformation propaganda type shit, I think.
So Disney might want to
distance themselves,
burn that bridge a little bit.
I mean, the first thing, if you Google Shuri actress, the next fill-in is anti-vax. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see what they do. She's great. She's a great actress.
She did a good job.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, I like her character.
I also thought like when she was going to wear the suit, because she used to have those like gauntlet blaster things. Like I thought she was going to incorporate those into her suit and use those more or whatever. Like,
well, she did a little bit at the fight on the boat, but then they broke. Like you can see, like you're right. She like throws them off her hands at some point. But
good thing she got to use them for 4 seconds.
She got hit with the water balloon, and they fizzled.
Fucking water balloons and electronics, man. Yeah. It's just a recipe for disaster, you know?
I fried my flip phone.
Okay, so I figured it out. So she shared a video from like a divisive pastor that had like anti-vax, transphobic, and homophobic remarks.
Oh, no.
And then she deleted her Twitter account a day later after having shared, if you don't conform to popular opinions but ask questions and think for yourself, you get canceled.
Ooh, yeah.
And they actually had to change the ending of Black Panther because they basically wrote her out of it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Sharing some of those Kyrie videos.
Yeah.
Have fun with that, Dallas.
The cult of Kyrie.
All right, so now we've shifted to sports talk podcast.
It was a little bit mixed in.
Yeah. I think that just about wraps it up. I don't know if you guys I think we touched on everything we needed to. I mean, our podcast is like half the time of Black Panther as a whole. And
a third.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. We hope you continue to take in the same shitty movies that we do. And if you agree with us, disagree with us, want to argue, want to tell us how awesome we are, how handsome we are, please feel free to email us at the Good Enough Gaming Podcast at gmail.com.
Feel free to emo us.
Emo. That wasn't even on purpose, but oh, good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at GEG Podcast. Check out our website, goodenoughgaming.com, and write us an email about anything from our episodes or something you would like us to discuss in the future. You can also now join us on Discord on the Good Enough Gaming Discord server. We really appreciate you listening and hope you continue to join us on this epic adventure of discussing all things gaming and nerdy. Please subscribe to the Good Enough Gaming Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcasts, and rate us 5 stars so we can find more good enoughers in the process. Just remember, we might not be great, but we are good enough.